also has been associated with wells and springs, bubbling forth, inspiration, healing. In fact, at Circle Sanctuary Nature Preserve, we have a spring dedicated to Brighid, not only as pagan goddess, but Christian saint. And one of the ancient customs that not only happened during pre-Christian times, but as Christianity took over Ireland and the British Isles, the tying of ribbon bits of cloth above the wells, above the springs. You've heard of prayer flags in some traditions. Well, these are prayer cloths, and they were left there as offerings and as symbols of honor for Brighid and as requests for healing. In Christian times, Brighid as goddess transmuted. And in fact, it was in 490, some say, that her most holiest of shrines in Ireland at Kildare was founded. Some say that Saint Bridget, before she was a saint, founded this abbey, and that she was the first abbess. And she had women tending the sacred flame there, 19 women, in a place that was a women's only place. Now they live in women visit this shrine. My assistant, Teresa Jones, who just was ordained as a minister in our church, went and made a pilgrimage to the sisters that are now keeping the flame of St. Brighid, which was lit in recent times and is now continued to be kindled. Had a wonderful time with the Roman Catholic sisters, and they were delighted to hear that we had a Brighid well and a Brighid spring area at our center. We don't actually have a well, but it's a spring, and it's like a well. There's a lot of folklore associated with Brighid, and both before Christianity came to the Isles as well as afterwards. In fact, there's a great interweaving of these tales. Her ability to gift, her generosity, her giving of gifts. You find that in the Christian lore, you find it in the pagan lore. You also find her healing powers. Those that call out to her or who are touched by her, having spontaneous healing experiences. There are two things that have come down to us from ancient times that give accounts of her life. Is this historically accurate or not? There is debate among scholars. The Vita Brigatae by Cogitosus was dated back to the 7th century AD, and that was in Latin. The first in the Irish vernacular is the Bethru Brigeti. I haven't studied Celtic languages, so bear with me. And in there it said that she was a contemporary of St. Patrick. Others say that she lived a bit later. But certainly those of you who have Irish ancestry, which I do, as well as my Scottish and all those other parts of my multicolored ancestral web, may find when you go into Catholic cathedrals and go to shrines, you will find right next to St. Patrick and stained glass, St. Bridget. Like they're a pair. No, they weren't married. In fact, her lore during her time as a Christian saint, which goes back to the late 400s, she never married, never had sex with any men. In that sense, virginal. Pagan Brighid, that wasn't so much the case. There's actually that she was the daughter of the Dagda, and one account says that she married a Correllian king, and then from her and him spread a whole line of ancient Celts. And in fact, one of the legends, I don't have any genealogical documentation, is that one of my family lines takes its name supposedly from her, and that is spelled So, yes, perhaps as we look through some of the myths and legends, we not only see the common threads, but we also can understand how a sacred being, a sacred force, may be characterized through time, how that depiction may shift and change. One of the accounts in the Christian lore that comes to us about her is that she grew up in the household of a druid. Some say the druid was her father and he was of nobility, and that her mother was a slave woman or a serving woman. That's one account. Supposedly she was born at sunrise, and yes, she's been linked with the rising sun. And she was born at sunrise by her mother, standing over the threshold, 1 foot in the hut, 1 foot out of the hut. Those of you who know about Celtic lore know about the other world being 1 foot in the other world, 1 foot in this world, if you are a practitioner of ancient Celtic ways. And as Brighid came into the world, she was radiant. In fact, early on in her life, she was given milk from a white cow with red ears. Now that comes from the Christian lore, but yet if you know of the pagan Celtic lore, you'll know that those white cows with the red ears are linked with the spirit world. Supposedly, her father, or some say it was the head of the household, wasn't really her father, but the druid who ran the household in which she was born, had a dream, and 3 Christian clergy folk showed up to him in the dream, and one said, "Name your daughter Brighid." Well, when you think about it, it's pretty curious that a pagan priest would have a dream with Christian ministers telling the pagan priest to name the daughter after a pagan goddess. So there are many scholars that look at that bit of lore and say, well, this is really linking Brighid as the pre-Christian Celtic goddess with Saint Bridget the Saint. Regardless of whether she physically lived or not, certainly we know that Kildare continues to exist and continues to be a sacred place, a pilgrimage, and healing. The name Kildare itself comes from a word meaning oak. Kildare, the Church of the Oak. The other bit of lore I thought I'd share before I guide a short meditation is that of the Christmas story. When Mary gave birth to Jesus, it was Brighid who was there as midwife. And other accounts say she also was the foster mother of Jesus. And I look through all the lore and things that I know of Brighid, and I honor all of that. And to me, it's all the multifaceted dimensions of her as a sacred force that connects me with the divine oneness. What I would like to do is guide a short chant. Those of you who want to sing, it's very simple. I wrote it. We sing it at Brigid's Festival Day, which in since the Middle Ages has been known as Candlemas or Imbolc. It is at the very beginning of February. It's one of the 4 Celtic fire festivals. And we celebrate it with candles, we celebrate it with singing, we celebrate it with healing. And I'd like to share that chant with you. And the chant will be followed by chanting her name 3 times, and then I'll guide a short meditation. And if you have particular healing needs, I would invite you to focus on that during the chant that we do prior to the meditation as well as in the meditation itself. For the healing meditation that I will guide will not only have an opportunity for you to connect with her for personal healing, but it also will connect with healing of a much broader sense. That of the healing of the relationship of humans with religions and philosophies, as well as humankind in the larger realm of